Unionmwan Joseph Edebiri, honoring the legacy of an ethical, erudite, exemplary gentleman. Birth. Unionmwan Joseph Edebiri was born on the 1st of April 1942 in Benin City, Nigeria, to Chief Osawe Edebiri, the Ozedu or Bayeweka's interpreter, later the Isama of Benin Kingdom, and Mrs. Idefua Edebiri. His mother traveled in hired vehicles to places like Ewu, Ekpoma, Irua, Uromi, and Ubiaza, purchasing goods for sale in Oba Market in Benin City. As a child, Unionmwan's penchant for giving out oranges his mother sold to passers-by earned him the nickname Uyanare among family members, which means one who gives freely.
I am Dr. Amahwao Edebiri, and Professor Unionmwan Edebiri was my elder brother. I recall vividly in the 1960s how you mentored me when I was in the secondary school and you were at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. The pace setter leading the late Chief Osawe Edebiri family, Isama of Benin Kingdom, was already at work. As a role model, it was easy for us to emulate. You reinforced my traditional name as a quintessence of our heritage, as Unionmwan was boldly written on those airmail letters from Paris. Concerned that you would love to have me more science inclined, you sought to change my school to one with improved facilities. At the time, when the war broke out, I stayed put at Garrick Memorial. Nevertheless, as you were back home in Nigeria, I was on my way to Great UI to study medicine. Your encouragement made it all possible. You achieved so much as an academic extraordinaire, inspirational to many family, friends, and students alike. Building alliances and long-term relationships were your greatest strength. You knew, true to your name. You demonstrated to all those within your orbit of influence how to challenge the status quo in search of a better world. Today, I salute you, my beloved brother, mentor, intellectual colossus, and hero. It's hard to say goodbye forever. I'm consoled by the footprints etched in time, and your works live on. Au revoir, mon frère cher.
My name is Gele Azode, and Prof. Union Edebiri is my mother's brother, and I call him my uncle. I met him first time when I was about 9 years old, and my mother took me to go and visit him in Warri. That was the first time I took a pontoon that's a boat to travel, and I met him. We went to the school, Robo College, and visited him then. And ever since then, he has been like a son to my mother, and I knew him when he was away and all that. So I have always been. He has always monitored my children, and in fact, he's my favorite uncle. He was my favorite uncle, and he is still my favorite uncle. He made sure he knows everything about my children, and he did not forget that I am his sister's little daughter. So I really felt his death, and I pray that he rests in peace by the grace of God. Prof. Union Edebiri, my favorite uncle, rest in peace.
Education. Unionmwan attended Holy Cross Primary School, Benin City, from 1946 to 1954. It was here that his headmaster suggested the short form, Union, which would become the name by which he was popularly called. For his secondary school education, he proceeded to Urobo College, Efron, near Warri, present-day Delta State, from 1955 to 1960. It was here that Union fell in love with Latin, which later influenced his future career choices. He went on to the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, in present-day Enugu State, obtaining a Bachelor of Arts BA Honours degree in French and Russian in 1965. As an undergraduate, Union showed exceptional academic promise, winning a university scholarship in Nsukka, a French government scholarship for the Year Abroad program in Dakar, and the Edward Blyden Prize for Academic Excellence upon graduation. He also demonstrated leadership as Assistant Secretary of the Students' Union, Secretary of the United Nations Students' Association UNSA Nsukka branch, member of the four-man University of Nigeria delegation on an exchange program to the Netherlands, member of the two-man delegation of the All Nigeria United Nations Students' Association ANUNSA to the 15th Annual Conference of the International Students' Movement for the United Nations, ISMUN, in Geneva, Switzerland, delegate to the ISMUN Oxfam Conference in Oxford, England, and the ISMUN Workshop in Paris, France. The pioneer president of the West African Confederation of United Nations Students Association, WACUNSA. In 1965, Union won a federal government of Nigeria scholarship to study for a master's degree in France. He obtained his MA French at the Sorbonne in 1968. The French government then awarded him a scholarship to study for the doctorate degree, and in 1970 he became the first Nigerian to earn a Doctorat d'Université PhD in French literature at the Sorbonne for his thesis L'individualisme dans l'œuvre de Georges Duhamel, written under the supervision of Monsieur le Recteur Marius François Gouillard. On the basis of his academic excellence, the French government awarded him a scholarship for a French language diploma course in 1971. In 1982, he undertook a postgraduate summer course in French at the University of Dijon, France. Years later, for his legal education, Union attended the University of Lagos 1984 to 1990, then the Nigerian Law School in Lagos. He was called to the bar in 1991.
I am Dr. Moses Osauri Odaro, a PhD since 1971, fellow Nigerian Institute of Management, Chartered, and also fellow Chartered Institute of Bankers. I did not grow up with Unionmwan Edebiri in the same neighborhood, nor did I attend the same primary school or secondary school, but I attended University of Nigeria with him. How our friendship started has been fully covered in my written tribute. A friendship that has lasted over 60 years is certainly not a joke. While we do not have the privilege of choosing who our father or mother is, or even our siblings or cousins and uncles and aunties. Certainly, we have the privilege of choosing who our friends are. For our friendship to have lasted so long, we certainly saw in each other qualities that money cannot buy. All through these years, I've seen Unionmwan as a man, solid, impeccable character, a complete gentleman you can depend on any day, anytime, anywhere. A man of very few words who will not rush into any decision, whose thoughts or contributions on any issue you cannot easily throw away.
My name is Noble Asagba, a retired career diplomat. I met Union for the first time in October 1961 when we arrived on the campus of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, among the second set of students to be admitted into the university. Our first meeting had something uniquely interesting about it, for we immediately struck a bond of friendship which grew from strength to strength until the cruel hands of death snatched him away. The news of Union's passing hit me with such stunning ferocity that even at my age of 83, I could not hold back tears from dropping from my eyes. My wife, who had tremendous regard for him, joined me in mourning. A man of exceedingly happy disposition, Union was always there to support any cause which brought joy to people. In our days at UNN, those of us from the defunct Midwest region often gathered to share jokes. Union usually dominated such occasions with his witty comments, which ended with him stretching out his hands to shake all present and declaring to each one, "The man when him mama born well." We replied him in his own words, and that drew infectious smiles of joy from him. Till he was called home by his maker, that famous phrase, "The man when him mama born well," never ceased featuring in all our conversations on phone or whenever we met. Union, if you can hear me wherever you are, take note that I would be infinitely delighted to be reunited with you for a replay of our happy days. You were an exceptionally good man. May God, who gave you life and saw it was time to take it back, rest your soul in peace.
This is Festus Utasuwe Sunday Obayuwana JP, commenting on the sad loss of Professor Joseph Unionmwan Edebiri, OFR, a friend of mine for many decades, since 1957, when I first commenced my secondary school career in Robo College, Efrun, Warri. Joseph Unionmwan Edebiri, fondly called Union, was 4 years ahead of me. During the later years, I found him a very good counselor, calm and calculated young man. Union often attended my gatherings on December 26th, my Boxing Day gathering of friends and relations and family members. This year, the cold hands of death robbed us of that unique person, Union Edebiri. So, those who were with us on the 26th a few days ago missed Union a great deal. And we all fervently prayed that the Lord will accept his gentle soul and grant him a place in his bosom above.
Career. Union's 50-year teaching career started in 1971 at the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, where he taught various aspects of French language and literature. In 1974, he moved to the University of Lagos, where he spent the longest and most active years of his working life, rising to senior lecturer in 1977 and full professor in 1983. At the University of Lagos, he was the co-supervisor of the first candidate to obtain a PhD in French in 1990. On the eve of his retirement from the service of the University of Lagos, he delivered his inaugural lecture, The Critic is Mediator, Literary Production and Its Consumers, on March 28, 2007, the culmination of his academic prowess. He retired from the University of Lagos on April 1, 2007, upon reaching the then statutory age for retirement of professors at 65 years. Union subsequently joined the law firm of Prospect Partners, Benin City, and then the services of the University of Benin as contract adjunct professor from 2009 until 2021. Many universities in Nigeria have benefited from his services as external examiner for their undergraduate and postgraduate examinations. Union also supervised several undergraduate projects, postgraduate dissertations, and theses. In addition, some Nigerian and foreign universities requested him to assess the publication of their staff for promotion to associate professorship and full professorship. Union also served on the editorial boards of many scholarly journals and as an editorial consultant and contributor to some national and international reputable journals like World Literature Today, African Literature Today, Écriture Français, Babel, Meta, Ethiopiques, the Nigerian Journal of the Humanities, and others. Additionally, Union was head Department of European Languages, University of Lagos, from 2003 to 2006. Under his headship, the department organized the International Conference on Translation and Interpretation in Africa, Past, Present and Future, in Lagos in 2005, which was the first international conference ever organized by the Department of Modern European Foreign Languages, or French, in Nigeria. He also established the Modern Language Laboratory, which was supported by the French Embassy with equipment and book donations, which later served as a model for language departments in other universities. Union was elected by the Senate of the University of Lagos as member of the Governing Council, and this council won the National University Commission (NUC) Award for the Best University Governing Council in Nigeria in 2005. He also served on many of the council's committees. Among others, some of Union's commitments at the University of Lagos included Chairman, Unilag ASU Visitation Panel Committee, Chairman, Appointments and Promotions Boards Committee on Criteria for Recognized Publication, Chairman, Unilag Guest Houses and Conference Centers Committee, Pioneer Editor-in-Chief, Unilag ASU Newsletter, and Coordinator, General African Studies. At the University of Benin, he was a major promoter of the Journal Librance, University of Benin Journal of French Studies, and the Biennial International Conference of French Studies of the Department of Foreign Languages. Union taught and supervised undergraduate and postgraduate courses, projects, and master's dissertations. The successful defense of the PhD thesis, for which he was the main supervisor, marked the end of his service at the University of Benin. During his 50 years of teaching, Union Edebiri produced 4 generations of professors. His students have gone on to distinguish themselves in both the public and private sectors as ministers, ambassadors, high commissioners, entrepreneurs, business executives, and many other notable roles and positions.
I am Dr. Azodo Ada Uzamaka, former student of Professor Union Edebiri. First at the University of Ife for my undergraduate studies, then at the University of Lagos for both my master's and doctoral thesis, for which he was director. Later, we became colleagues of the Nigerian Union of French Teachers, the Literary Society of Nigeria, and the Association of African Literature of the United States of America. It was therefore a long relationship that spanned over half a century, from 1971 to 2023. In a few words, Professor Edebiri was teacher extraordinaire. With heaviness of heart, I bid goodbye to a dear friend, mentor, and guide, Dr. Union Edebiri, OFR, Order of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, very well merited. May his soul and the souls of all the faithful departed rest in perfect peace. Amen.
I am Emeritus Professor Raymond Osemegi Elaho. Professor Union Edebiri and I were friends for over 50 years. We became colleagues in the Department of Foreign Languages, University of Benin, from 2009 to 2022. That is after he retired as Professor of French in the University of Lagos. Union was a trusted friend and confidant. He valued friendship, and he was very proud of his cultural heritage. Union was an outstanding professor of French studies, a primus inter pares among his peers. He was highly principled, fearless, and altruistic. Adieu, my good friend.
My name is Lupeju Udasuratumi, the Dean of the Faculty of Arts. I want to speak on Professor Edebiri. I knew him as a student, and I was one of his best students. He acknowledged me publicly, and we became very good friends, though people were scared anytime he was around because he was quiet and reserved. Professor Edebiri became so close to me, they said that he would entrust me with his lunch when he was a guest house chairman. And I will end up eating everything alone, or we share it with late Jacobi. He was an exemplary leader, a mentor to me. In fact, a father figure throughout his life since 1990. He was a very nice person. Professor Edebiri is a remarkable human being. Fearless, beautiful, respectful, helping, caring, and always there for you. The life lesson I learned from him is that you should always be at your best in what you know how to do and be nice to people. Remember people all the time. Stay by the people who stay by you and know how to acknowledge people publicly when you do. Always assist when you can and be straightforward. Do things your own way without compromising standards. It was very helpful. Very helpful. It got me the first grant in the University of Lagos. In fact, it was amazing. We saw rest in peace.
My name is Mrs. Folashade Olumide, the first female registrar of UNILAG. I fondly called late Professor Union Edebiri my worthy in-law. His late wife, Muji, was my relation, and he accorded me the respect. We were both staff of UNILAG and lived on campus. Our families were very close, and in fact, I'm their first child, Eduge's godmother. Professor Edebiri was a highly cerebral person and was respected by his colleagues for his intellectual contributions, which earned him international recognition and positions. Also, he was a caring father, devoted husband, amiable colleague, and dependable friend. Prof was a decent man of high integrity. Adieu, Professor Edebiri. May your loving soul rest in peace and your memory remain a blessing to your children. Amen.
I'm Professor Stella M.A. Johnson. I've been Professor Edebiri's colleague for many years. I know him to be a focused individual who has good relationship with colleagues and students, and one thing I will never forget about him is his very deep sense of commitment. He will never fail to participate in activities of associations to which he belongs, especially the Nigerian Academy of Letters. And that was what prompted me to call him sometime in September when he did not show up at the conference of West African Institute of Translators and Interpreters, of which he was the president. Yes, Professor Edebiri will be sorely missed for all his good virtues, for his contributions to French studies, especially in the area of African theater and French language. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Amen.
This is Ambassador Jonathan Oluwole Koka, once a student of our late icon, Professor Union Edebiri, at the University of Ife. He was so calm, he was like one of us, and he said, "Come, boys and girls, I'm going to make sure that you understand this course called French. It's not your language, but I have had the experience overseas, and I'm going to share it with you so that you can also be like me." That was Professor Edebiri speaking. So, with that approach, some of us, myself included, summoned up courage to follow his course. And lo and behold, we were so much encouraged and our fear was erased. Professor Edebiri is a mixer. He loves meeting people and he loves sharing knowledge. He took me to many places. And at the time we met at Guinea-Bissau, where we were conducting presidential elections. As difficult as that country was, Professor Edebiri had no bed to sleep. We had to share. Would you believe that he slept on the ground, on the floor, on the ground floor, even with me, and said, "No, Ambassador, I will sleep with you on the floor." There was no bed. This is Professor Edebiri with his humility that surprises everybody, and for that I give him kudos, even in death.
I'm Professor Sam Oyewari, former Minister of Information and Culture. My good friend, Professor Union Edebiri, popularly I called Just Union throughout our relationship, was a great friend, great in many ways. He's somebody that is honest and extremely humble, intelligent, and somebody that you can confide in. We joked a lot, and his loss will cost me a lot of those jokes. It is well known between us that we share common aspirations, common outlook to life. It's a pity he's gone, but his soul will continue to rest with God wherever he is. I'm sad about his loss. Union was a great friend. Out of his humility and humaneness, he referred to me throughout, even to the last period we spoke on the phone, as my Oga. He was, as it were, a good friend, and my being his Oga grew out of our relationship. Even when the circumstances had changed, he never stopped calling me my Oga. God bless him. God bless his family that he has left behind. God bless his soul. It is well with him. In Jesus' name, amen.
Research and publications. Union's research interests encompassed Francophone African drama, comparative literature, translation and cultural studies. His most important contributions to knowledge are in Francophone African drama, focusing on its birth, development, criticism, current trends, and specifically its role in national development, assessment of traditional and foreign influences on it, and detailed studies of individual authors and troupes. Union has to his credit 6 solo-authored books, 2 monographs, journal articles, public lectures and paper presentations in 8 national and 29 international conferences across 32 countries and 4 continents. The article he published in Unionmwan, then Dahomian literary journal, on Jean Pliat, the country's foremost writer, revealed Jean Pliat to his compatriots, who thereafter started to study him. Hence, in the Unionmwan literary circle, Union was nicknamed Le Critique Nigérian de Jean Pliat. Union was the first critic to draw attention to the emergence of Nigerian poetry in French in his article published by Ethiopics in Dakar in 1990. He contributed to comparative literature as well as the founder and pioneer secretary of the Nigerian Association for African and Comparative Literature in 1976, which collaborated with the Department of English, University of Ibadan, in organizing the annual Ibadan African Literature Conference in the mid-70s, using his good offices to facilitate the participation of Nigerians in the congresses of the International Comparative Literature Association. He represented Africa on the executive committee from 1976 to 1982. In addition, Union showed in one of his studies that on account of its special circumstances, the traditional concept of comparative literature as the study of national literatures in relation to each other, or as the study of literature beyond the confines of one particular country, beyond national boundaries, is invalid when applied to the study of African literature. In the 1980s, Union launched a collaborative project to pay tributes to prominent and aging Francophone African writers while they are alive, instead of waiting to shower posthumous encomiums on them. His first choice of writer was Bernard Dadier, the Ivorian versatile writer-poet, novelist, dramatist, essayist, folktale teller, etc. The project was a huge success. Of the 33 chapters published after peer review, 26 were in French and 7 in English. The contributors were some of the foremost critics of Francophone African literature, like Léon Castelot, Jacques Chevrier, Bernard Manier, Philippe de Grene, Clive Wake, and Dorothy Blair. The French government, through its Centre National des Lettres, sponsored the publication of the book Bernard Dadier, Hommages études, essais réunis par Unionmwan Edebiri, Ivry-sur-Seine, édition Nouvelle d'études, 1992. The government of Côte d'Ivoire organized its public presentation in Abidjan through its Ministry of Culture under the chairmanship of Nigeria's ambassador to Côte d'Ivoire, His Excellency J.O. Coker, who by a happy coincidence was one of Edebiri's first students at the University of Ife. That public presentation was unique in that a book written or edited by a Nigerian on a francophone writer was officially launched in the writer's own country. Even more significant is that the book put an end to the then prevailing practice whereby Western critics edited books with chapters contributed by African critics. For the first time in African literary criticism, a Lagos-based Nigerian edited a book to which several Western critics contributed chapters. Most significantly, the book remains the most important work of reference on Bernard Dadier. 2 of Union's 6 solo-authored books were published in 2023, La langue française et la littérature africaine francophone nigérian, dedicated to his wife Moji, as well as Literary and Translation Studies in Africa, dedicated to his parents, Chief Osawe Edebiri, late Esama of Benin, and Mrs. Idefua Edebiri. The cover art of both books were created by Union's first grandchild, Farah, who drew inspiration from his Ankara wares and a blanket crocheted for him by his first child, Edugie. These 2 books signified his way of giving back, as they are Union's response to the request from well-meaning colleagues, researchers and students to access some of his published articles in leading journals during his 50 years of scholarship. Also in 2023, the Department of European Languages and Integration Studies, University of Lagos, published a Festschrift in his honor, Eureka Unilag, a Journal of Humanistic Studies, Volume 8, August-September 2023, a special edition in honor of Unionmwan Edebiri.
I am Tanuri Ojaide, a writer and professor of Africana Studies. Professor Union Edebiri was the senior brother that I never had. He was always very anxious to know about how I fared as a person. He was my senior, but he was not only a colleague, friend, and confidant, but also somebody whose support you can always count on. Of course, we called each other almost every other day, and when I did not call, he would call. So he did not wait for me to call as his junior. He always asked about me, as what I was writing as a scholar, as a writer, and he cared about me as a human being, the family. One of the things he did for me, which I think the world should know about, is how he felt at the time that I should apply for the National Merit Award. In fact, he called me from Benin. I was in Charlotte. Asked me whether I had applied. I told him yes, I had applied twice, but I had not won. But he said I should apply because it was time, high time, I won that award. So through him, things were put in place. I was recommended, and I got the National Merit Award. So I am very grateful. I was always grateful to him. I'm going to be grateful to him, his memory, and his family for the good he has done to me. That honor is something which I cherish a lot. And without him, there's no hope I would have gotten it by now. So he, even though he has passed on, as I've written elsewhere, he will continue to live in my heart. He was a good human being, a noble human being that whose qualities we need to emulate.
Professor Edebiri was a true lawyer of the preamble of UNESCO's constitution that proclaimed, "It is in the minds of men that the wall of peace should be erected." Teaching the official language of all the neighboring countries of Nigeria is for him the first step of his country's foreign policy. Professor Edebiri is also a militant of ECOWAS Union. That is why most of his write-ups are on the ECOWAS writers. He fought so that the Year Abroad program should take place in African Francophone and Anglophone countries. Culture of peace among the population of ECOWAS has always been his objectives. May this dream become a reality for West African politicians. That is why Professor Edebiri cannot die. His ideas will always be alive. The Senegalese poet Birago Diop summarizes his life. Écoute plus souvent les choses que les êtres. La voix du feu s'entend, entend la voix de l'eau. Écoute dans le vent le buisson sanglot. C'est le souffle des ancêtres. Ceux qui sont morts ne sont jamais partis. Ils sont dans l'eau qui coule, ils sont dans l'eau qui dort. Ils sont dans la case, ils sont dans la foule. Les morts ne sont pas morts. Yes, Professor Union Edebiri n'est pas mort.
Commitments, associations, and services. Union Edebiri delivered numerous public lectures at home and abroad. Notably, he was guest speaker on the traditional and the modern, an aspect of narrative techniques in the African novel. Annual Conference of the Dutch Association of General and Comparative Literature, Amsterdam, on the 18th of August 1976. The first Chief Jacob Ehareva Memorial Lecture, the 5th of December 1995. The 1997 Convocation Anniversary Symposium of His Majesty Oba Michael Adeniyi Shonariwo the Akarigbo of Remoland, Cultural and Historical Foundations of Nigeria, Factors that Influence Our Socio-Political Development, Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPS, Kuru Jos, on the 9th of February 1998. Both 50th and 60th anniversary celebrations of Urobo College, his alma mater, on the future of secondary school education in Nigeria and the crisis in education in Nigeria, respectively. Drama and Culture in Francophone West Africa, African Studies Program, University of Washington, Washington, USA, 26th of April 2011, and lead speaker at the symposium to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the Second World Black and African Festival of Arts and Culture, Festac 1977, in Lagos on the 9th of November 2017, themed Black and African Arts and Culture as value of engaging the 21st century imperative in Africa, among others. Union was elected the African representative to the African contingent at the podium during the opening ceremony of the 13th Congress of the International Federation of Modern Languages and Literatures, Sydney, Australia, 25th of August 1975, which was declared open by the then Governor-General of Australia, Sir John Kerr. He was a member of the six-man African Literature Monitoring Subcommittee of the International Comparative Literature Association, ICLA, the only Nigerian on the subcommittee. Union was appointed in 1977 by Association pour la diffusion internationale francophone de livres, ouvrages et revues, ADIFLO, and the Biennale de la Langue Française as coordinator for the distribution of French books worth over 50 million naira donated to Nigeria, to the Nigerian educational institutions. They considered him to be, in their own words, a personality whose impartiality and integrity are not in doubt. Union occupied numerous administrative positions in various agencies of government. universities, professional associations, educational institutions, and other bodies. He was a senior colloquium officer at Festac 77 and the only Nigerian member of the International Colloquium Commission of the Third World Festival of Black Arts, FESMAN 3, Dakar, from 2005 to 2010. Union was Director Chief Executive of the Center for Black and African Arts and Civilization, CBAC, Lagos, from 1992 to 2000, where he instituted CBAC lectures delivered by speakers with impressive credentials such as Ambassador Dudley J. Thompson, Queen's Counsel, High Commissioner of Jamaica to Nigeria; Ambassador Walter Carrington, U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria; Ambassador Kofi Awono, Ghanaian Permanent Representative to the United Nations; and Professor Emeritus Ali Mazrui. He served on the National Executive of the Nigerian Bar Association as Member for Culture 1999 to 2000, Legal Advisor, Nigerian Institute of Translators and Interpreters, and Honorary Solicitor, Nigerian Academy of Letters. He was Chairman, Forum of Professors and Heads of Department of French in Nigerian universities from 2007 to 2008. From 1986 to 1992, Union was a member of the Governing Council, Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, NIIA. Union contributed immensely to the development of education at the then Bendel State through membership of the Board of Directors of the Ethiop Publishing Corporation, Midwest Ad Hoc Scholarship Committee, Governing Council of College of Education Abraka, State Library Board, and Planning Committee for the establishment of a Bendel State University, and other institutions of higher learning, which recommended the establishment and founding of Bendel State University, now Ambrose Ali University, Ekpoma. In 2015, he became Chairman, Board of Governors, Idurase Education Center, Iyaen, Benin City. In 2016, Union became member of the High Academic Board, Université Louis-Charles de Montesquieu, Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. Member, Specialized Committee of Assessors for Humanities Board, Nigerian National Merit Award, Presidency, Abuja. He was also from 2018, member, Comité Scientifique des Musées Internationaux des Arts et Civilisations de Vodo-Mauritia, ANTP Presidency, Porto Novo, Benin Republic. Member, Board of Directors, Center for Edu Studies, Benson Idahosa University, Benin City, and Foundation President, West African Institute of Translators and Interpreters, YT. Honors, recognitions, awards, and fellowships. In recognition of his broad accomplishments, Union Edebiri was bestowed with many honors, recognitions, awards, and fellowships, such as Fellowship of the Nigerian Institute of Translators and Interpreters, FNITI, Fellowship, Institute of Benin Studies, FIBS, Fellowship, University French Teachers Association of Nigeria, FUFTEN, Fellowship, Nigeria Academy of Letters, FNEL, and the Leopold Sédar Senghor Research Fellowship. He was conferred multiple awards, including the WIDA 92 Award by the President of the Republic of Benin, the Special Award for Contributions to Africa's Renaissance by the President of Senegal, the Benin Achievers Award by His Royal Majesty Omonoba Nedo Uku Akpolokpolo, Oba of Benin, the University of Lagos Long and Meritorious Service Award, Certificat d'Honneur by the Franco-Nigerian Socio-Cultural Organization for exceptional action taken towards the development of the study of the French language in Nigeria, and most notably, the National Honor of Officer of the Order of the Federal Republic, OFR, conferred on him by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 2009. Social and community life. Union was a committed and dependable friend. He built many long-standing and invaluable relationships over the years. Union was a foundation member and past president of Cedar Club of Benin, member Staff Club University of Benin, member Benin Club, member and later member Board of Trustees, Benin Elders Forum, Benin City. He was also foundation member and past vice president of Kari 25 Club, Lagos, member of Rotary Club Ilupeju, as well as a member of Ikoyi Club, Lagos, Octagon 90, University of Lagos, and Senior Staff Club, University of Lagos. Union was Lagos branch and also national president of Urobo College Old Students Association. He was chairman, Men's Forum, St. Thomas More Catholic Chaplaincy, University of Lagos. Chairman, the Udogi Ivoe Education Foundation, and patron, Linking Hands Foundation, an NGO focused on children's education, health, and values. Union's hobbies included walking, playing lawn tennis, watching football, traveling, and of course, reading. He enjoyed visiting museums, collecting various works of art, and discussing world history and current affairs. Union gave freely of his resources, both material and otherwise, rendering help and assistance to others at every opportunity he had. He believed firmly that nothing was too much to give to another, and no one was too small to give to another.
My name is Victor Edusa Omonzua, a professor of linguistics. I got to know Professor Edebiri when he retired from the University of Lagos and was on contract in the University of Benin. And he headed the Benin group that fought to have the first Benin Vice Chancellor. He handled that group with dexterity. He's a man of his words. You know, he's someone who believes in what he says and says what he believes. He's not used to frivolities. He actually sponsored my membership of Cedar Club of Benin. He's a man I will always respect. I will always, I will never forget. He's one man who is very straightforward, very humble, and he's not used to, dancing around issues. He always says things as they are. I will miss him.
My name is Right Honorable Andy Egoma, a friend of Union for over 50 years, since the early 1970s, when our paths first crossed as a young lecturer in the University of Ife and an equally young Standard Bank of West Africa executive. Over the years, I found Union to be fiercely loyal and trusted friend with a very calm disposition. Union was a professional to the core and an obeying gentleman. He was never envious of anybody, but instead celebrated your joys and your not too pleasant situation with you, and always reciprocated any favors you did to him. No wonder why he publicly acknowledged me in his inaugural lecture at the University of Lagos. Union also, in his own way, was a private person, but a very committed family man. As his children, Edugie, Efe, Uyi, Esohe, and his dear late wife Moji will testify. He served his Creator to the best of his ability. As the parishioners of St. Paul's Catholic Church, Benin City, will testify that he was always there every Saturday evening to make up for the Sunday Mass. I will greatly miss him, and I pray that the Lord God will grant his soul peaceful repose.
My name is Adile Jinadu, Professor of Political Science. I was shattered by the devastating news of the death of Professor Edebiri, who, since we first met in 1968, had been a very, very close friend in whom I discussed with pleasure a lot of my personal problems and aspirations as a political scientist. I have lost in him a very close and loyal friend, whom I and my wife and children regard as a brother who incarnated the full meaning of whom a brother should be. And I met Union when I was in Nanterre. He was at the University of Nanterre. When I went there to do a research from Oxford, he accommodated me in his apartment. And since then, we have been very close. I have lost a brother, I have lost a friend, I have lost a confidant. I pray that God Almighty grant him eternal rest with the triumphant saints and give the children and grandchildren and us, his friends, the forbearance to bear this sad and irreparable loss.
My name is Elise Sumone from Republic of Benin. I met Union in 1973 in Ife at the university. That is 50 years ago. I went to the University of Ife for my PhD in African history. And when I landed in Ife, I was unable to speak fluently English. Edebiri was my first friend in Nigeria at that time and in the university. Since then, we have been in touch, in regular contact with each other. I attended his wedding with Moji. You remember? That's a long time ago. I know all the kids they have together, and the kids know my two kids as well. They are good friends. This is to say that I'm a lifelong friend of Union. I appreciated his friendship. He's a faithful friend. And we talk to each other almost every week. Before he passed away, I didn't hear from him for many weeks. And I told my wife, something must be wrong with Union. I haven't heard from him. I called, he didn't pick the phone. I sent WhatsApp, he didn't react. It's then that I came to know that he passed away. It was so sad news. J'ai perdu un ami fidèle, un ami de longue date, que je regretterai toujours. Que son âme repose en paix et que ses enfants et petits-enfants vivent aussi heureux, aussi fidèles, aussi bons citoyens qu'a été leur père. Merci.
I'm Professor UMO Ivowi, a very good friend of Professor Edebiri. We first met in 1964 at the conference of the United Nations Students Association of Nigeria at Enugu. I gave a paper and he asked a question which I responded to very well.
We became so friendly at that meeting that I became his campaign manager for the election of that year. He eventually won that election. We came back to Lagos and resumed our friendship in 1978. Well, on behalf of the Ivory Education Foundation, I am pleased to say that during the chairmanship of Professor Union Edebiri, we were very happy, and he was able on the 25th foundation lecture, he suggested that we should get the Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Omu, to be the guest speaker. We were able to make that arrangement. In addition, he also decided that all the lectures we have had over the years, 25 years, we should put them in a compendium of lectures, which we did and published, and is available for all to use. Now that it's late, we pray God Almighty to please accept his soul in peace.
Personality. Union was firm, fair and friendly. He was a highly disciplined and principled person who never shied away from saying it as it is. Union always spoke truth to power. He shared his views openly and passionately. While he stood firmly by his convictions, Union was flexible. He would listen to and consider other positions and align with a superior perspective. Union was a husband, father, brother, uncle, mentor, confidant, advisor and friend to his nuclear and extended family members, relatives, colleagues, students, protégés, friends' children and others.
My names are Mrs. Mabel Sasebo Edebiri Otabo, late Samko's wife. Professor Joseph Union Edebiri was my brother-in-law. He was the first I knew in the Edebiri's family. He accepted and welcomed me with warmth and joy as a daughter-in-law into the family. He cautioned my late husband not to play with my emotions and to treat me with tenderness and to avoid complain about him from me to him, Professor. Their relationship was that of father and son. Professor never failed to play his role as dad-in-law to me and treat my children as his till his death. His children and mine are closely related as their school days, holidays were spent in his house in Lagos. Daddy Union was a soft-spoken, gentle, great icon, highly well-respected and kind-hearted, religious and complete gentleman of high repute. He is someone you can rely upon and will never let you down or fail to solve your problems anytime, any day. Daddy, General of Edebiri's family, adieu.
My name is Reverend Dr. Collins Azuwagai Taiwo Edebiri. I'm a nephew to Professor Unionmwan Edebiri. He was more than an uncle to me. He was indeed my father. Everybody in the family will attest to that. Way back when Dr. Unionmwan Edebiri came back to Nigeria in 1972, after I did a PhD in France, my grandfather laid out the biggest street party I'd ever seen in my life as at that time, killing cows. That sent a message to my mind. So this is what happens to people who read, and earn honors in reading. And so I couldn't wait for my uncle to come. When he when he came and we had a chance to talk, and he said to me, "Are you the one that gained admission into Edo College?" I said yes. And then he said a few words to me. Those few words shaped my life. From that day, he became my hero. From that day, he became my mentor. From that day, he became my go-to person on life issues. The things I wouldn't discuss with my father, I had the liberty to discuss with him. Eventually, I visited him, lived with him many, many years, and the rest is history. He became my friend, he became my confidant, and we talked about everything under the sun. I want to publicly thank God for the opportunity I had. He even waited for me the last 48 hours of his life to get to his bedside before he gave up the ghost. I will always cherish those 48 hours of my life. What did I have to take away? I feel empty right now because this was shortly after my father passed and then he passed. I feel like I feel so empty. There's no man to go to. There's no father to, no one to call a father. But I cherish those moments. I cherish those advices. I cherish the secret things we shared together, and I will forever keep the promises. Thank you, Uncle, for coming into my life, and adieu.
Greetings to everyone. My name is Dikbo Kushemiju. Currently on vacation in Paris, which is actually fitting to celebrate a distinguished and accomplished professor of modern European languages. And I believe Efe also lived here for several years. To me, he was dad, as long as I am able to recall, about 40 years plus. Officially, he's my godfather. And of course, Unionmwan Edebiri is my childhood best friend and brother. We were also neighbors. Lots of memories to recall. I still remember his favorite armchair, watching the final of a Grand Slam together with all the tension and emotions after Pete Sampras won as a kid. And of course, there were birthdays, Christmas celebrations. And honestly, there was every day. Their home, his home, was my second home. I even learned how to use a computer in Prof's study. He and my godmother, Mrs. Moji Edebiri, may her soul rest in peace, continue to rest in peace, made every birthday memorable. They often showed up to spend time with my parents on my birthday evening with lots of gifts, cash, just incredibly generous people. I admired Prof then, and even more so now as I've gotten older. Essentially for what he was, not just a distinguished professor, but an embodiment of discipline, integrity, humility, and generosity. I thank you, Mrs. Eduge Amihere, Mrs. Efe Farere, Mr. Uyi Edebiri, and Mrs. Esohe Shabanjo for sharing your amazing parents. Their legacy, his legacy, is already living through you and his grandchildren. I give glory and gratitude to God for his remarkable life that I was privileged to experience through him and through his truly amazing family. Rest in peace, everlasting Godfather, Dad, and keep swinging your tennis racket in heaven. Reposez en paix.
Hello, my name is Akwesami Asan. I am a friend of the family and I consider myself a son to Professor Unionmwan Edebiri. We started off as neighbors and our families quickly became intertwined. Growing up together with the Edebiri children in High Rise University of Lagos. There's a fond memory that we laugh about every time we're together of Professor. He was watching TV, he was watching the Frank Olize show, and he kicked back and kicked his feet together. And he said, Olize, 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 Olize will kill somebody with laughter. I remember his kind spirits. I remember him as a compassionate father. Since I lost my father, he has been a father figure to me. He will call me on every single birthday. When we had our last child, he will call. At every single significant milestone, Daddy Edebs was there. I remember the last time I spoke with him and the video call that I was privileged to share with him. Thank you, Uyi, F.A., Edube, and Esoe, for giving me the opportunity to say goodbye to your father and to tell him that I loved him one last time. Daddy, you were a truly special human being. I thank you for the life lessons. Thank you for the wisdom you shared. And thank you for the love and compassion that you showed to me and my family. I salute and say goodbye to a proud Bini Royal and an intellectual titan. I celebrate your life. Your legacy lives on through the wonderful kids that you and mommy brought up. And you will never be forgotten. Because true kindness is never forgotten, but it should be paid forward. Goodbye, Daddy, and rest in peace. I love you.
My name is Osareme Yimbo. It's difficult to summarize my unique relationship with late Professor Union Edebiri in few words, but that I must. He was a friend, brother, uncle, father, and mentor. We shared countless memorable moments together from the time we met early in 1990 as students at the law school Victoria Island, Lagos. Even though we didn't know each other from Adam, as we often say, he offered me his boys' quarters in Unilag and took me to and from the law school where he was also a student, even though he was a full-time French professor in Unilag. Since then, we remained very, very close, even until his dying days. He relished my success more than I did and stood with me in times of sorrow. He was selfless, abhorred oppression. He stood for the downtrodden in spite of his status in society. He was humble and unassuming, but assertive and when necessary. He was a teacher and mentor, but most of all, he was a beloved family man. Even though he was generally referred to as uncle, he was more than that to me. I mourn his loss dearly and deeply, but in his usual fashion, he will encourage us all to live. Uncle, thank you for every moment, the countless trips we took together, the times we spent together. I'll miss you dearly. Rest in peace, and thank you for everything you did for me.
My name is Professor Pablo Pauli de Osa from York University in Toronto, Canada. I say today with a deep lament, but with an enormous gratitude of being able to know and being a part of Professor Union Edebiri's life. He was a giant amongst much smaller people, but a man of great humility and enormous modesty, and was a personal inspiration to me. Not only in encouraging me to be an academic when he used to visit London and visit our family in the 70s on his way back from or to Paris, but also in his encouragement to always think of the greater good, not just your own. And I think this is one of the memories that I will carry with me for the rest of my life about Union, both for his students, for other academics, for society in general, and of course especially for his children and his grandchildren. He was a beautiful man, a man of enormous courage in the face of numerous obstacles. But throughout all that time, he always had time to give to others, to encourage others, to believe in others, and to have others do what they needed to do. It's with that that I will miss him, but it is that I will carry with the rest of my life. Union, you are with peace. You are with love. You've left a legacy, both academically and administratively and personally and familially, with so many people that your memory will live in perpetuity in Nigeria and amongst the many, many people whom you've touched. With love and tribute, Union. Farewell.
Marriage and family. On July 5th, 1975, Union married Omoba Mary Mojisola Olubumilola Edebiri ne Awolesi, the daughter of the late Oba Moses Shuemimo Awolesi, CON, Erinwole II, the 17th Akaribo of Remoland, and Olori Henrietta Idowu Awolesi ni Okoya Thomas. Moji, whom he affectionately called my sunshine, to which her response was my key, predeceased him on 10th August 2021. Their marriage of 46 years was blessed with 4 children and lovely grandchildren. He spent almost all the time between when his wife Moji passed away till he also did the same, living in the homes of his children, from his youngest to his eldest, spending quality time and making more memorable moments with them, their spouses, and his grandchildren.
My name is Prince Adeshegun Adegboyega Awolesi. Professor Union Edebiri is one of my best in-law I ever had in my life. He is a kind, courageous man during his life, and he used to call me Shagun, 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 how are you? I pray for his children. I pray for his family, for God to guide them, be with them. May his gentle soul rest in perfect peace. Amen.
My name is Berore Agba. Uncle, you're gone, but you will never be forgotten. I have so many memories of you that I do not know where to start from. Those memories will remain with me forever. By now, you must have seen your sunshine, Moji, Moji, Moji. Both of you should continue to rest in the bosom of the Lord. Love you both. Bye. Rest in perfect peace. Bero.
have only the fondest memories. Growing up, Daddy was a very strict disciplinarian, you know. And then over time, through secondary school, then university, when I think he felt I was okay, then things we started becoming wine buddies. We drink wine together. We hung out in Las Vegas together. He spent quality time with us, and it was just all around. He just became my guy. I became his PA. I read his email like every day for the past, I don't know how many years. Even now, it's weird. I wake up in the morning before I check my mail, I check his mail. Hey, Daddy, you have this mail, you have to respond. He will type the mail, he will send it to me. So I miss all of that, and but I'm thankful. Also happy for the time that he spent with us, and one of which was our trip to Las Vegas, which was my first time going to Vegas when he turned 17. On the work district, we had an amazing time. He spent a good time with us in the US and also in Cameroon, and then also I was like his PA working on his conference papers and all. Yinka, what are some of the things you remember about Daddy E?
No, it's as you said, it was really nice to have Daddy with us the times he came when we were in the States and even in Yaoundé as well. For me, I find that, when you look at Deva, it's like I gave birth to a son that looks just like my father. And just the similarities, even things like Deva not wanting to see onions in his food. Then I find out later on that that's just his grandpa, exactly that. So that was fun. I was also quite excited when Daddy finally found me an E name. So all of Uyi's sisters have names that starts with E. And so when I joined the family, he found me my own name, Edebiri, which I thought was very thoughtful. It means that I'm in a blessed land. I'm in a blessed land, like Benin land, Edebiri land, blessed land.
That's right. Can't you see? Can't you
Welcome.
see?
Yeah. So
Perfect.
and of course, I really miss Daddy's calls. Very thoughtful. Mother's Day, birthday. He will call my parents to wish. He will wish me happy birthday. Then call my parents to tell them they called to wish me happy birthday. Then let me know he spoke to my parents. Like Daddy was just so sweet. Yeah, and very kind. And very gentle, very firm, and just firm, like disciplined, but very gentle. I don't know how to put it. Sounds so good. Yeah, that really nice mix. Yeah, and of course, I'm in awe of how, how much of a academic giant, that daddy was. So very inspirational for me to see someone in his 80s. Because when he came to America, to Maryland, he was still working so hard. Even when he couldn't see as clearly as he would just buy him more lamps. We'd change the lamp, get him more. But he was so hardworking.
What was that conference? There was a conference he did from your...
Yeah, the African morning, the midnight can oil. And the thing about him is that he developed that habit. I don't know that was in secondary school or university of waking up to read.
His PhD.
And he continued to do that. So one thing is that when he's in Nigeria and here in the US, he'll call you middle of the night Nigeria and you say because he's waking up to read. That's when he's reading newspapers or he's reading his books or that kind of thing. He never slept through the night like that, and it was pretty cool. And talking of the conference, I actually went to one with him about 4 years ago in the US and got to meet some of his colleagues. So all that work of putting together his abstract, meeting, was good to be there. And then one fun thing, Daddy and I, we talked a lot, talk so much so that one time we was going on a train to Yale University in Connecticut. We're talking on the train, I forgot, I missed my stop. I went to South Florida, so I had to get down and talk to the train people not to charge me and then continue.
Remember when if Daddy is gisting with you, right? Once he's talking, once he does like this, just leave everything you are doing, like you are going to be there for the rest of the night. And he loves to talk and engage and yeah, I will miss him dearly. I remember sometimes when he was staying with us and he would call me, if I want to tell you something, and then I'll be there, I'll listen, and I have to go and say, Daddy, I'll be right back. I will go. I will think I forgot to say, hey, if I come back, what we were talking about before my own Daddy, and then we have to sit down and then talk about it with him again. So yeah, so many fun memories about Prof. And just like we said when we were younger, He was like that disciplinarian. But still, me, I used to say I'm my daddy's daughter, mommy's friend. So we had our moments, and then those times, because when you're a teenager, he was firm, he was a disciplinarian. But at the same time, daddy was very flexible. And that's the one thing I really enjoyed about daddy. I was thinking about him today, and I thought it was the same way God says, come, let us reason together. Say your own, I say my own. And he would just arrive and let us land at what is the best position on this topic. And if for any reason at all, maybe you felt daddy did something that hurt you, and I always say this on my dad, daddy will always say, I'm sorry. He was very open to apologizing. So you said, daddy, this thing you said, I wasn't happy about the people, and he will explain to you why, to let you know that that was not his intention. But then he will go further and tell you he was sorry that he made you feel, that way. And from when, Ahmed, mommy went, until when daddy, 2 years, 3 months, 6 days after, we saw another side of him. I say that daddy just lived with his heart in his hands and for us. And he always say that that's all he was living for, his children and his grandchildren. And he really, really did just that. And when we looked at it and we were analyzing how, he started with Essie's house, and then from Essie he was with Uyi and Yinka, and then he was with us for about a year, and then he went to Abuja, and it was like he was done, he was so ready. And then while with Eduge, in Abuja, he went to meet with the Lord, and he was so ready. He was at peace with man, he was at peace with his God, making all those calls just that week in particular, even to the extent of asking to speak to those that were in boarding house and then praying for them. And for me, even one of the things that, who was talking about the calls, right? Like when Anyinka too, daddy would call birthdays, New Year, everything that was important to us. New month, yes, he said to send the new month messages. Some people started to look for him when they didn't get the Happy New Month messages for him. They're like, what happened? Because they had got those messages so often. And that's how some people actually knew that he had passed on. And daddy, even when he was with us, I know he would call everybody, each one of us, before he went to bed. Even if he spoke to you during the day, before he closed his eyes to sleep at night, he will call all his children. And then he will wake up in the middle of the night, to actually now call Esohe, those that were in another time zone. He and Uye. I mean, many times I think that he was talking to his body, an old friend, and then it would be that it was Uye that he was talking to. I really, really thank God for his life. I thank God for how daddy, he ended so well. And it's very painful, but we are thankful.
For me, there was a lot of balance in daddy. You usually will not find people who are able to mix, should I say, attributes the way my dad was able to do so. So well accomplished, yet so humble. So strict and firm, yet always very loving and in a way soft. Daddy came across as, I don't want to call him a henchman, a tough guy. But yet, daddy never hid the fact that he loved us. He made sure that there was a balance in everything we did. He wanted us to work hard with our academic work. At the same time, daddy ensured that whatever extracurricular activity each child was interested in, daddy went over and above many times to ensure that you got the necessary support to carry out those activities. He would support me, he would support my siblings. I remember the first time I moved an application in court, he came in his white agbada, and when I saw him rush into the courtroom, because the court was about to sit, I smiled, because I said, I'm not getting married. Why would my father wear a white agbada? And we took our bow together, walked out of the courtroom together. He told me he was proud of me, and he drove me to the office. Daddy was very supportive, and in our adulthood, he became a good friend. Daddy and I, everybody close to me knows once it's 5 o'clock, I had to talk to my dad. And having to adjust to that not happening has been a bit of a challenge. It's something I'm going to miss.
These people were jealous, but that's how my daddy called me. There was no need to shout my name. Once I heard that sound, I knew daddy was calling me. It could be beverage, chocolate, sweets, just, you know, something, a nice treat waiting for me. Daddy's pet through and through. But yeah, that's how daddy called me. And I remember, I think I was in my final year in Unilag, and I was in the Faculty of Arts, and he had spotted me from a distance. I didn't know he was around. And I hadn't heard that in a long time, in years. And then I heard the whistle, and I was like, I told my friend, I was like, my daddy is calling, my daddy is here. She's like, what are you talking about? Like, my daddy is here. And so I whistled, and then he whistled back. And I whistled, and we found each other, like, hey. She was like, so what your sibling said is actually true. That's how your daddy did used to call you as a child. I was like, yeah. So that was something, that's something that I remember. That's one of my earliest memories of daddy. I think I'll talk about the daily calls. So we had, Akitunde and I had our bundle of love here, Iriayo, and from the day she was born, I remember when Akitunde placed the call to daddy, like, I hadn't heard him sound that excited in such a long time. He was so happy. He seemed to have even reached out to his entire contact list, because I got calls and text messages, Google messages from people, so many people, you know, courtesy of daddy. And from the day she was born until he passed, he actually called us every single day without fail. If for whatever reason I didn't pick at the time, he wouldn't go to bed. He wouldn't go to bed. He would call again until he got to talk to me. And one thing I appreciated at that time as a new mother was he wasn't calling to ask about the baby. Yes, he would, but I'm his baby. You know, so he wanted to make sure I was fine. So like, hello, Esomi, how are you? And then you know, and after that would come, how is Iriayo? And then how is Akitunde?
Even though he had just spoken to you, he would ask, how is the son?
Yeah, he always
without fail.
He always did check in with that. For me, I would say I didn't exactly have the same daddy as you guys. I had a very toned down version, and I mean, yeah, he was already getting older. Then I mean, the grandkids had a different version of it as their grandfather, of course. But for me, I think some of the things I'll miss, definitely the daily calls, definitely the monthly messages. There's a particular video he always sent to everyone of the woman dancing. Yeah. And my birthday, you know, when he would address my card, dear Esomi, as he called me, with fondest thoughts, daddy. And, you know, Valentine's Day, daddy would always call me. Children's Day, he would always call. Every time daddy traveled, whether domestically or internationally, if he got, you know, the little snack packs you get on the plane, daddy would always bring it back for me, no matter how old I was. Because, you know, he always said, you're my baby. So he always had to bring something back for me. And myself, as I grew older and I started traveling on my own too, every time I traveled, I would always bring something off the plane for him. 2022, you know, we relocated, and daddy actually stayed back in Lagos so that he could see me off. So I saw him just before I headed out to the airport, and he and I had lived together for a period. And I remember very well that day, after we talked about what, you know, life held and all of that, he put his hands on me and then he prayed for me, you know, and it really touched me. I honestly thought I wouldn't see him for a long time after that. But fortunately, an opportunity came when he was visiting Uyi and Yinka in Maryland, and I got to surprise him. I got to surprise him then. And that was actually the last time we were actually together. But it was all good times, good memories. I'm glad we had that opportunity for me to see him, hang out with him. Good, just all good memories.
Talking about the surprises, you know, I think at every point in time, somebody surprised daddy.
Yeah, we all did. All four
Yeah,
of us
everybody.
actually did.
And then every time the one and the voice always said, we always say, It was very
And then there
hilarious.
was one I did for him in Lagos, and he said,
It's a miracle.
I told the nickname.
Hello. Good to see you, Daddy.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you. I had to surprise you.
You people are happy. Eh?
Put your face on that side.
Okay.
What is here? Okay.
She's Rabekuta. Okay, I see. Be talking on the phone now.
I'm talking.
Be talking. Is she not talking?
Daddy.
For me, what I miss most to be what I call the wine chats or wine discussions. I think we had mentioned that earlier. Daddy was a wine connoisseur, and he introduced that love of wine to me, because anytime he was coming to Lagos or even when we were in Houston, I would immediately stock up on his wine, and he will always remind me nothing less than, I think, 14%, 13.5% alcohol. So, and during the wine chat, we'll go into politics. Daddy loved talking about politics. So we'll go into politics. Daddy was full of what I'll call down-to-earth, general interest perspectives. He had this perspective that was not what you would normally expect, but that would be a realist kind of perspective, unbiased perspective. That was Daddy for you. And that really helped, even in the discussions, that mature view kind of helped in how I approached a lot of things, work, relationships, marriage, a lot of things. And again, I thought I was an avid reader, that I used to read a lot. But Daddy, I remember the first time I woke up and I saw his light in his room on. This was maybe about 1 o'clock a.m. And I thought he was sleeping, because by the time I was going to bed, he was already asleep. But when I got there, I saw him reading. This was like 1:30 in the morning. And he had this stack of books just right beside him. So, and then I developed the habit of going to him in the night, we'll gist. Then I wake up in the morning again, at times I'll see him reading again. And then I understood why he was really a professor. And why I'm not. So I really miss him. One thing I really appreciate is the way he spent his last days. It was unique. It was like he knew he was ready to go, and he used that moment to call everybody, touch base with everybody. He said there was a particular day he said he wanted to talk with our two kids in boarding house, Fiore and Jare, and he remembered that their calls normally happens on a Sunday, so he specifically asked to make that call, and luckily we were able to get him to speak with them. So it was like he prepared, and he left blissfully, peacefully, and fully satisfied. So we thank God for that blessing. Really miss it.
I'll just say a quick one on the wine. I also enjoy drinking wine with Daddy, but the story didn't start that way. What happened, I think I was in Unilag, so he had a bottle of wine open, and I helped myself to a glass. So he came and he said, this wine you dropped. And so I now said it was weed. So he came and said, you took my wine? Very good. So for like 4 or 6 weeks, my weekly pocket money, he will reduce it to say, you know why you're not getting the full amount? Because you took my wine. So he hammered that story in. And then one day I came back from work, and he had some of his friends over, and I was tired. It was a long, busy day. I said, well, you look tired. Why don't you bring a glass and come and join us? That for me was an invitation to the elders table. And anytime he came to me in the US, literally every night we'll drink, like we'll have like a glass. And then on the eve of his departure, we'll open and close a bottle, and every time the bottle was good, we'll go one more. Wow. And that was a lot of times. So I really would miss. No, you can't drink the bottom, no. So I don't need to kill a cow or goat. So that's something else that I really will miss about him is that. And to your point, Daddy he in spite of his accomplishments and all, he was a down-to-earth guy. Even when we go to the barber shop, like the last time we're here, you will engage anybody in a dialogue, you know. He was easy flowing, going like that. Okay.
Yeah, for me, with what all of his children have said, his calls, the daily calls and everything, I can attest to that because I was one that was helping him make those calls during the time that he spent with our family. That was for about 1.5 years or about 2 years or so. Yeah. So whenever he needed help with making calls or sending messages, he would always call me, Farah, I'll hear from downstairs.
That you know,
and I'll even come to meet him and everything, and then I'll help him with the calls to an extent that I even knew his list of contacts offhand. So once you say, I need you to talk to this person, I'm like, oh, do you mean this? You say, yes, that's right. And then I'll be able to connect to that. And like they've said too, Grandpa loved reading. He would always stay up late because he believed in burning the midnight oil. So at times when I would be studying very late into the night for school and I'll come up late, I'll pass by him, I'll greet him, and say, oh, what were you doing? I was studying. Say, that's very good. Keep up the good work, keep up the hard work. You always mention that to me and my siblings consistently, to always keep up that good work, to always keep on studying every single time. And with the calls and the messages, it really taught me that I should be able to strengthen my relationships with people a lot because people are just a call away. And that was it.
He was awesome. New Year, my birthday, generally almost every celebration, money was overflowing.
Mm-hmm. And then your birthdays, you will get, how was he giving you grandchildren money for your birthday?
He was giving us 1,000 per the age.
Yeah, 1,000 per your age.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you turn
7, you get 7,000.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it was actually very nice.
Because Grandpa was a real sweet tooth. Even on my birthday, I remember my birthday, he stayed up late, invited friends, they shared cake. And even when we were going to bed, I told him good night. He said happy birthday. They said, wait, was there ice cream? I said, he said, bring it. And then he really sat up. Even though he was laying on his bed ready to sleep, he sat up, he adjusted himself, and he still ate that ice cream.
For me, it was almost like Grandpa was one of my teachers at home. Because there was a time when I had a question about the United Kingdom, and then he spent like an hour telling me the entire history of the United Kingdom's monarchy, even the time before Queen Elizabeth was born. He told me everything. And sometimes when I had a question about anything that had to do with history, I'd always just go to him because I knew he could give me the answer. And I'm also just happy I was able to help him with just the basic things, like how I was able, like whenever I wanted to watch TV, put on the news, I'd always help him with that, give him his eye drop in the night, and sometimes guide him down the stairs. I'm just happy I was able to help him with some things.
So I want to start by playing the song that I made for Grandpa because Grandpa loved it when we played piano for him. During the year that he stayed with us, if he ever heard piano, he'd be like, who's that playing? Who is that? Tell them that they should increase the volume, they should continue playing, we should serenade him. So when I made this song for him, it was quite easier for me because it was for Grandpa. The way he left us, he had finished everything he wanted to do. He called Jaran for me when we were in school and he prayed for us, so that's his final wish for us. And now he's reunited with Grandma in heaven, so we know he's happy and we're happy for him too. So I named the song Rejoice. Grandpa and I, we had our own special handshake. So after I taught him to him the first time, every single time I'd come back from school and I'd go and greet him, we'd just start a handshake. And maybe we had to change it to like 3 times because Grandpa always he always added something at the end. Maybe sometimes we do like this or we do like Grandpa always added something to our handshake. So it was always fun changing it all the time. And then I taught him TikTok dances. There was one time I just did this dance and everything, and he just got along, and it was just so fun, like that with him and that handshake and everything. And so I'm really going to this one like this, like you're crossing the hands. So you go here, 1, 2, and I take it from the top again, so you can. Okay, so but let's try again. So, yeah, like that. So here first. Clap twice. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Back. Yeah, like that. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, wait, let's wait for the song to pass. Let's start again. Good, Grandpa. Hey, Grandpa's so cool.
Looking at him from a distance then, when Edigi and I just got married and he used to come around once a while, or we used to visit him then. We used to sit together and just talk. Maybe I'm just freshly back from work and we used to start the conversation. He would ask me, oh, what happened today? So I would tell him what was in the news and everything, you know. And then he will now start by analyzing the news and come up with his own take on what he thinks the situation is. So quite a number of things, you know. We talked about current issues and he would analyze, oh, what the politics is like in Nigeria, what the politics is like in Edo State. We talked about the educational system in Nigeria. He gave me his take as well on what, particularly the federal government college system. I'm a product of a federal government college, and I'm sure most of us sitting around here are actually products of... and his, as Jide said, his takes were always very interesting and to the point, and unique to him, because he will break everything down and he will say, oh, this is what I think is the situation and this is what should be done. He started teaching me French. I bought a notebook. I knew from day one that that lesson was not going to end. But well, for now, I think I have some measure. I've been able to scale up my vocabulary in French. And I do intend to continue from where we stopped, probably do that online. And so much, you know, he will just go on and on and on, and he felt free to discuss anything. So we will sit down and, you know, he will just talk. I think I liked his company and I enjoyed it, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. Ok. Débat, tu veux dire quelque chose en français?
Grand-père était très courageux. Il était toujours là pour moi. Et je sais qu'il va me manquer beaucoup.
Oui, c'est clair. Ça va aller. Bravo, Débat. Et Yona, tu veux dire quelque chose, papa, grand-père? Il va te manquer aussi. Oui. You know, Grandpa's love for French is going to continue through his grandchildren. God is so... I don't know, he's intentional in the way that he does things, you know. Who would have thought that I would marry a Benin man, but whose father actually was a professor of French, and we shared a lot in common in that we could speak French without even understanding, and he would share his own experiences of living in Paris and how that was. So that was like our own connection and bond. Very well traveled. I don't know if I said this before. So with my work and me traveling, he would call. Daddy was also, you know, he was very encouraging also of me and supportive of like work. As he said, work hard. So you call, he say, where are you? If you tell him I'm in Sierra Leone or I'm in Cotonou, Daddy will start telling you of in the year 1980 something when he was there. He knows the ambassador. He knows the ambassador. He went to do this. So fantastic. And when he visited us in Yaoundé, we actually reached out to the ambassador of Nigeria there who received Daddy as well. So anything cultural, anything travel, anything, Daddy was just really on top. So that made for a really interesting conversation with Daddy as well.
So it was a kind of a big deal for me getting married to his baby.
He was,
when my family members came, he never hesitated to tell them, "Yes, is my baby," and I made him a promise, which I intend to keep. I will take care of your baby. And then I will miss the daily calls because my father passed over 16 years ago. So I kind of grew attached to him based on the fact that we had a call almost every Sunday. And at each of our calls, he would ask, "How is the son? How is Riayo?" In fact, he kind of nicknamed me a sing-along type name.
Akintunde, or there's a way he used to say your name.
So
Akintunde.
I would actually miss that about him.
And talking about using the term baby is talking about the time between when mommy passed and he passed, and Edugi and I would call each other and say, "I is our mommy's baby." Right? The baby mommy left behind for us to help her take care of. And really, I mean, I don't even know. I have no words. I can't explain, how much love. It was like Daddy knew he was trying to fill that gap, that space of both mother and father and grandma and grandpa. And he did it too well. I don't know if I say so well. I don't even know so well, too well. I don't even know how to qualify it. It was beautiful, this time with him. And it was we that mentioned that if we did notice that in that period he could never actually bring up mommy on his own, in conversation. He could just never. If we brought her up in conversation, he wouldn't say much, and he would quickly maybe nod and all that, but he just could never. And it just goes back, to when he was saying that that was never the plan, that she would go before him. But like I said before, it's painful, but we are thankful. God knows best, and the way God made it work out. And every time I think about them, I just remember the first physical people I ever saw slow dancing were our parents. And before even Killing Me Softly became popular much later, we already knew that song as children because our parents would dance to that.
Yeah, that was their song.
That was their song.
Going out. And before I swear was born, Edugi and Efe would be dancing. They had nobody to dance with. And Daddy and Mommy would dance.
So it's all
dance
just
with.
memories.
But now,
Lighter note, I want to say, as the senior Mrs. I saw my senior Mrs. Edebiri call Daddy brother. So I hope you are getting ready to be called brother.
Yeah, my mom, you can brother. Yeah, she will call Daddy brother. And then you hear emoji. But before brother emoji, there was key and sunshine. So that's how they signed their cards to each other. So I had to say my key, from your sunshine, and he will say my sunshine from your key. So he's with his sunshine. Yeah.
Who wouldn't have called her sunshine?
Yeah.
will visit for just a short while. Then we'll part and we'll not see each other for a year or more at a time. But someday when life down here is over and all of our troubles are over, there'll be an everlasting reunion when we step off on that beautiful shore. Someday, yes, someday, we'll cross the river, we'll step off on that beautiful shore. Afterwards, yes, afterwards, we will see Jesus and live in His presence evermore. We've got friends, yes, we've got friends and beloved ones who are waiting for us to cross over. There'll be an everlasting reunion when we step off on that beautiful shore. Someday when life down here is over and all of our troubles are over, to the beautiful home we'll be going to rest on that heavenly shore. There'll be a great family reunion with loved ones who've gone on before. They'll be waiting for the boat to land safely when we step off on that beautiful shore. Yes, someday we'll cross the river, we'll step off on that beautiful shore. Afterwards, yes, afterwards, we will see Jesus and live in His presence evermore. We've got friends, yes, we've got friends and beloved ones who are waiting for us to cross over. There'll be an everlasting reunion when we step off on that beautiful shore. Someday, yes, someday, we'll cross the river, we'll step off on that beautiful shore. Afterwards, yes, afterwards, we will see Jesus and live in His presence evermore. We've got friends, yes, we've got friends and beloved ones who are waiting for us to cross over. There'll be an everlasting reunion when we step off on that beautiful shore.
Transition to Glory. In the early hours of Wednesday, 15th November 2023, Union asked his eldest daughter, Edebiri, to put a call through to her siblings for him. During the video call, he thanked his 4 children for their care, told them how much he loved them, and blessed them. Later that morning, Union was led in the prayer of salvation by his nephew, Reverend Collins Edebiri. Shortly afterwards, upon Union's earlier request, he was anointed and received the last sacrament of Holy Communion by a Catholic priest. Union passed on in the early hours of the following day, Thursday the 16th of November 2023, in Abuja. Physically present with him was his eldest child, Edebiri, who was joined virtually via video call by his other children, Efe, Uyi, Esohe, as well as his eldest grandchild, Farah, and newest infant grandchild, Iriayo. They all thanked him for his love and legacy, and the priceless memories he was leaving with them. As these loved ones bid him adieu with words of affection, admiration, and appreciation, Union Edebiri transitioned peacefully to glory.
May you live long to serve your family, your state, your country, and the world. May all your efforts be crowned with success. May you always be guided by God in all your doings, support you and be to grand old age. Every person goes to the other side because we are human beings. We have to die at one time or the other. But and that the rest of your life will bring good tidings to you, to your family, to your colleagues, the whole world at large, so that at the end of it all, you will have lived a fulfilled life, a life of usefulness, community, both at home and abroad. We ask all these rewards in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.